Welcome back again, Power App enthusiasts, to the Power App tutorial channel. We are once again continuing with our Power Up Challenge walkthrough series for 2024. Today we'll be creating a page for our model-driven app, formerly called a custom page. But before we begin, remember to hit that subscription button if you're new here and add that notification bell so you can stay updated when we come up with new videos. And also don't forget to hit that thumbs up if you learned something new. All right, let's move on with the video. I would like to premise this by saying this is going to be an extra long video because we are creating not just a page, which is actually a Canvas app. So we're going to be creating a Canvas app, but this app is going to be a responsive Canvas app. And you might be asking yourself, why are we creating a responsive Canvas app? Well, we're creating a responsive Canvas app. The short answer is because we are going to be embedding this Canvas app inside our model-driven app. And if we go to our solution here and open our, if you go to apps and let's open our model-driven app and we'll see what a responsive app is. All right, so our model-driven app is open. Let me give you a little bit of list bit and expand this a little. So just push that down. Just okay, that looks good. If you look down on the tabs below and change this from responsive, you can see we have phone. And when you change it to phone, the tabs change to a different format. And the same thing happens when you change it to a tablet. And also when you change it to a desktop. So this comes with all model-driven apps out of box. Therefore, if you're trying to put something inside a model-driven app, you want it to also to be responsive. And that's why we are creating this custom page, which is actually a Canvas app. Okay, so I hope you guys are excited about this. So just hit back if you're following along. And there are two ways to create a page, a custom page. The first is using new tab. So once you go to apps, under apps, you go to page, or the second way is to, and we're going to use the second way, to open the model-driven app itself. And once it's open, hit on the new and hit custom page. And then we're going to start with create custom page. And I'm going to name this shelter manager dash fully responsive. And then I'm just going to hit create. And it's going to take us to a new tab. And once it's done creating, we would see the first thing, which looks like a Canvas app. And I'm just going to do my first change is to change this to home screen. All right, and before we hit save, we're gonna do some things with the settings. So the first thing we need to check in a responsive app is to make sure all these are not, and that's why I decided to use the new in the model-driven app because it comes with these presets. But these are supposed to be off when you're creating a responsive app. Second thing we need to do here is for where it says enable multiple screens, make sure you put this on. And the third thing we need to do, just so we can add more flexibility to our app, is to enable model control. So go under the Updates tab and enable model controls. And once you're done with that, just hit close. And then hit the drop down for save and save with version notes. And then put in, well, I can't put in anything. So just save first. I guess we can save with version notes first. So just save first. All right, so the page was saved first time. From now on, we can be saving with version notes, and that was what happened there. Okay, so we have our home screen and we have our responsive app to build. Now, to the best way to build a responsive app is to use containers. Containers are the lifeblood of any responsive app. They're the ones that give it that flexibility to change based on conditions you put inside the containers and the elements and the components you use inside the containers. So we're going to start with our first container, which is going to be vertical container. So with the home screen tab, let's look for our vertical container. So it's showing a modern tab. So switch to the classic or just type vertical. I'm just going to use so go to layout, grab the vertical container. Awesome. Let's make some modifications starting with the name. Change the name to home body and then I'll change the align horizontal to stretch. And then let's go to the width. You can click on the tab here or you could go up here and find width. And for here, we're going to put in parent on width. And then I'm going to use the side this time around and look for height. I'm going to change this, yes, you guessed it, to parent.height too. Awesome. And then just change the positions to 0. Awesome. And then last thing we're going to change is this horizontal overflow. Just change it to scroll. Okay, and now we have our home body, and this is where all our other containers will sit in for our app. This time around, I'm going to save with version notes. Some home body ready is version notes. Let's just save that. And it's going to ask for publish. I'm just going to hit publish this version. All right, so now that we have a vertical container, let's start inserting. As you can see, there should be like a highlighted type, and then in the middle, you can hit open and insert. I can do it that way, or you could just use insert here. And what we are looking for are horizontal containers. And I'm just going to copy this and do this 4 more times. All right, so we have 4 containers. With the 4 containers on, go back and click on the home body again and then hit insert, and this time add a gallery. Awesome. So this is going to be how our home screen is going to be formatted. All right, I'm going to rename these containers, and to rename the container, just click on each container and go to the container tab and then rename it. So for the first one, we have the home header, and I'm going to do the same for the rest of them. I'll be back. Okay, we're back, and the header names are home header, animal/info, search container, animal table header, and I left my gallery as gal animals. All right, so starting with the home header, let's make some adjustments to the properties pane. So on the right side, where it says properties, let's put space between for justify. and change the align vertical, leave it at center, and put a gap of 10. Also leave a padding left of 10. Next thing we're going to do is remove flexible heights, and we're going to adjust it and give it our own height, and our height is going to be 60. I want to add a little bit of color, so I'm just going to pick this shade. So if you have noticed, we've been using formulas like period.width and period.height. These are formulas that help you create that dynamic flow by using dynamic content. Now, if you've if you're following, you will note that if this guy has parent.width, that means all the other containers are going to also have parent.width. So I'm just going to add period.width to the width portion while we're doing this. I'm back and everything has parent.width. So let's go back to our home header and let's start adding things. And I'll zoom in once we start adding things. I know it looks a little bit far away, but I'm going to zoom in as and do it as best as I can. But so click on the home header, and you can either click on the plus, or with it highlighted on the left side, you can hit insert. I'm going to use the plus this time around. And the first thing we're going to insert is going to be an image, which we do not have yet. So let's go grab our image. To grab your image, we need to import the image first. Let's go to the left section under media, click on media, and then add media, and click upload. Okay, so we have our images. Let's take our logo and upload it in first. Just like before, you can drag this and drop in there, but I'm gonna use the plus like we designated. To add an image, just go under media and click image. While that's going on, I'm gonna change tabs from media back to our tree view. All right, with our image in there, let's grab our correct image so it can display. And with that in there, I'm gonna rename this animal logo. Awesome. All right, with that in there, we are gonna click on the height. So if you click on height here, or you could go towards the left and click the drop down and look for height. We're gonna use the formula bar, and this is where I'm gonna introduce you to the first formula that we're gonna use. That basically helps us determine the size of our screen. All right, I'm back. And this is the formula right here. And so app.activescreen.size. If the size is a desktop, that's when it's 4. If it's a tablet, it's going to be the size is going to be 3. And then if it's a phone, it's usually a 2 and a 1, depending on the size of the phone. But I'm usually safe when I assume 2 is a phone. So 2 out of 1, I usually put them as phone, and then 3, 4 is a desktop size, and 3 is a tablet size. So here's what we're saying with our formula here. We're saying if the app size is a desktop, leave it as the parent dot height. So it will take on the shape, the height of the parent tab, which is our home header. And the same thing for if it's a tablet form. But if it's a phone, change the height and make it 40. And if you look at the formula bar for height right now, because our current height for our header is 60, it's going to be showing 60. Now we're going to do the same thing for the width. All right, so we're back, and for the width, we're using the same active screen dot size, but this time around we're using self dot height. So to take on the height of itself, which is going to be, if you click on this, you can actually see the value here. So if you click on that, you can see the value, it's 60. So to take on the value of the self dot height, and then if it's a phone, I want it to go to 40 and 40. And right now, this is how our formula should look. Let's save that. Okay, I'm back. For some reason, it didn't show the notification that actually changed to 60. And I had to reset my screen. But yeah, so it's still the same formula, but this time it's catching the 60 instead of 100, which it was doing before. Now, I did want to demo what happens once you're done saving and publishing, but since I had to reset, that's already been done. I would see if I can do that in the end, but if I can't, it's still the same process, and I'll describe it too. But let's go ahead with what we were building. So the next thing we're going to input is going to be a label. So click on the home header and insert a label. So go to classic and insert a label. I'm going to call it header label, and I'm going to call it animate. I'm going to zoom in a little so we can see what's going on here. We'll be zooming in and zooming out. All right, so it's animal manager. All right, let's change some other properties. Let's change the font weight to bold. Let's align center. And then put on auto height. And then for the font size, let's start with the font size. Click on the font size or go through the left drop down bar and look for font size. And then enter this formula for the font size. Okay, we're back. And you've seen this formula already, just like before. So we're saying if it's desktop, I want the font size to be 18. And if for phones, I want the font size to be 13. And then the last one is the default. So the 18 is always the default. And that's for the font size. Great. Now, the same thing is going to happen to the height. So click on the height here. I usually find it faster if I click here, it just takes me directly to height. But you can use either way. And then we're going to change this formula too. This will be parent.height for the height. For the width, put in this formula. And this is just a custom formula that I came up with. And it fits best when you're using a mobile phone. So just use this formula for the width. And that's for the animal manager label. Great. While we're here and zoomed in, let's add in one more thing. So click on the home header tab and let's insert a checkbox. So let's type checkbox. Awesome. So IntelliSense already picked it up. Pick the first one and let that load in. Okay, so our checkbox is finally in. I'm gonna rename this theme checkbox. For the label, let's rename that. Let's rename that night theme. And then I want it to be checked as a default. I'm gonna change the font size, change the font size to 14, and then change the font weight to semi-bold. These are just aesthetics, but I think they add more visual appeal. And then for the checkbox size, I'm going to make this 30. All right, that's looking good. And if you can guess it again, yes. When we get to the height, we have to change this parent.height. And for the width, and this is going to be the formula for our width. It's going to carry 80 for desktop and 100 for phone. All right, so I'm going to zoom back out. Cool. So this is going to be how our home header is going to look like. Looks good. Now I did want to show you some other things. So you can go to the advanced fields and change some other properties. Like for example, you may not see, like you can't see padding here, but if you want, you can adjust the padding using this side. Those are just extra options. I'm not going to bother with that. Remember to save, but usually it saves automatically. So let's move on to the next container, which is going to be the animal info container. Okay, so as long as just make sure that your animal info is highlighted and that you're on it, and then let's start making some adjustments. The first thing we're adjusting is the justify horizontal. We want it to be in the justify center, and then align that center. Let's give it a gap of 10. Okay, and then go down and turn off flexible height and change the height. Now leave the height. 200 is fine. And if you remember how we did the last time for our animal info, we inserted two containers. So we're just going to insert two containers again. So two vertical containers. We start with the first one, and then we edit the first one and duplicate it. So change the name to available animals, and then justify vertical, make sure it's center. Align horizontal, make sure it's center. And then go down, turn off flexible width, and align in container, make it center. And then let's add a radius of 2, a border, sorry, a radius, a border thickness of 2, not a radius. All right, with that said, we're going to make some adjustments to the height. So for the heights, we're going to put in a new formula. And this is going to be our formula for our height. So it's going to be 150 for desktop and 100 for phone. We're also going to change the width, put in this formula. Awesome. And this is going to be for our width. It's going to be 250 for desktop and 150 for phone. And that's how it's going to look. I'm going to save this. But before I duplicate this, I'm going to add in our two labels. So just hit on the plus in there. Add in the first label, and let's rename this, just like before. animal count label, and for the text value field, it's gal animals dot all items count. Let's just make some adjustments here. So I'm going to change the font weight to bold, and I'm going to move alignment center, and I'm going to turn auto height on. Also change the font size to 18. Okay, then, all right, let's change the formula for the width. So for the width, parent.width for the width. All right, since we have this set, I'm just going to copy this guy. And then make sure you click on available animals and paste it. So then we're going to rename this guy. So rename them available animals labels, and then for the within this code, and we should have this, and then we're going to make some adjustments. So for the font size, turn this to 14, and then let's change the font to Patrick Hand, make it semi-bold, and I think that looks good. Awesome. So with our container finally done, I'm just going to duplicate this. So just copy it and then click on the outer tab of the animal info and then paste it again. And then this time around, I'm going to rename this guy Ready for Foster. And as you can see, once you start adding some stuff, it starts to change. So don't worry if you see a black screen. Remember, all this is happening in the cloud, so it's still catching up. Let's see what we have here when we open this down. Okay, there's nothing in here except for, so okay, I'm just gonna copy these two. So control click on animal count label and control click on available label. And with both of them highlighted, just copy and and then click on ready for Foster and let's paste it. Awesome. All right, let's let's change the names. Awesome. And while we are here on ready for Foster label, so while we're on ready for Foster label, let's change the text property. And this is going to be the formula we're going to use. So if it's a screen size of desktop, it's going to say animal ready for Foster. But if it's a phone size, it's just going to say Foster ready. And then the default is going to be animal ready for Foster. And that's what we're going to put on that here. Now for the counts label, if you remember, it uses the Foster shelter status, but we haven't really gotten to that yet in the gallery. So I'm just going to leave that for now. And let's move on to the next container, which is going to be our search container. Okay, so we're on the search container. But you know what? Let's give our vertical containers a border or two so they're more visible before we move to the search container. All right, I'm back and they look good. So I'm just gonna close those two tabs. Let's move on to home tab is fine. Now we're working on our search container. All right, we'll start by making some adjustments to the search container. Start with the justify, make it space between, and then align center. And then after that, go down and remove flexible height. And with the flexible height turned off, change the height to 40 and then add a radius of 2, a border of 2. Awesome. With our container set, let's add some components. So the first component we're going to add is going to be a combo box, but we are going to use a modern combo box. So we're not going to use the classic, we're going to use the modern combo box. So hit the modern tab and add the modern combo box. For the items, just close that and leave as it is. Right now, we will get back to this later on. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is adjust this pattern left to 20, and then we go down to the height and change the height to parents.height. And then for the width, I want the width to be 411. 411 is the width of a phone. So I want it to take the full width of a phone if it's in a phone. And then we can adjust this other styling. These are just for, these are new stylings that come with using a modern app. I'm just gonna adjust a few of this. All right, so I adjusted the font size to 18. Then the font weight is normal. And then I added some border color to it and the border radius. And then finally, we're gonna rename this Combo Box Select, and we're done with that. All right, so now we need to get values for our combo box. To get the values for our combo box, um, go to the app. So click on app. And for the app, from the start screen, click on the drop down menu. So for those who are not familiar with the onstats is used, is a favorite place for coders to use to create variables. And this is where we're going to create our first variable. We're going to start with a simple variable first. And it's going to be set var appteam custom. And all this does is just creates a variable called var appteam and assigns it the property custom. And to start that variable, all you have to do is once you've typed it in, hit on the 3 ellipses and then click run on start. And once you do that and go to the variables tables under global variables, you should be able to see your variable created. Now we're going to use the same process for creating the tables for our combo box. But first we need to import some data. So we're going to import our first data, which is going to be our shelter table. Okay, so click on add data and then type in the search bar shelter to get our table. Our table is shelter homes. So grab the shelter homes. Okay, so now that shelter home has been imported, go back to the onstats and from the onstats, after the column, put in this new code, a semicolon. So we want to do clear collect, combo box items, value filter by shelter name, distinct shelter name. This is the code we want to use, okay? Also, if you want to check how, is another pro tip, if you want to check what your column looks like, you can actually use these three dots and edit data, which will take you directly to your table and you can see the columns that are in your table. But like I said, once you put in that code, let's go back to our app. Once you put in the code, remember to click on, let's go back to our tree view. Click on the three dots. Let's give us more room so we see what we're doing. And then click run on start. And what that will do is that will actually trigger your code so that your variables can actually pop up. Where is it? Component variables. Oh, we have collections. So if you create context variables, they'll be right here. If you have name formulas, they'll be right here. But ours is a collection, so it will be stored here. All right, so now how do we visualize this? The simple way to do it is to go back to our tree view, go to our combo box, and this time around for the combo box item, so if you click on the item property for the combo box item, remove this and put in. All right, so once you put in combo box items in the items pane, just make sure you hit save and then hit play. And once you hit play, hit the drop down and you should see shelter names. And then the first one says filter by shelter name. And that's what we added first. So the first thing that we added when we said clear collect combo box items value filter by shelter name, that's just to give us a first filter. And that's what's showing up here. And then the rest of them are the distinct shelter names. All right, close this. Okay, with that said, we're just gonna do two more adjustments to the combo box. So for the default selected items, put in this value. So this is gonna be what's gonna be in our default selected items. And then for input text placeholder, change this to, all right, that looks good. I'm just gonna save right now. And then we're gonna add one more thing to our search container. And that's gonna be a label. So just make sure your cursor is on the search container itself. And then let's insert, go to classic, insert a label. Okay, so finally added the label. We're just gonna use, so this is gonna be a placeholder. So let me change it's gonna be a placeholder. And this is just to make sure that our combo box stays aligned. You can remove the label value, text value. Okay, can leave the auto height on. And then, well, I can change this. Let's just change this to parent.height. Since I changed that to parent.height, let's remove auto height. It's fine. The last thing we need to change, and this is why we actually need this placeholder, is the width. So for the width, change the formula to, so this is going to be the formula for our width. So it's going to be search container dot width minus combo box select dot width. And this is how we're going to adjust based on the size of our screen. All right.